Yo, it's your boy AOB. We're there with With Podcast. We're interviewing Samuel Adesoga, and Agile coach. And yeah, man, we're there. We're live. So you're an Agile coach. That's what you do.
I am, yes.
Okay, cool. So before we get into that, let's just understand a bit more about you as a person. We're gonna dive into what Agile coach is for all our viewers.
Right.
But I want to understand you as a person. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lagos, in Nigeria.
Okay. So what was that like? How's the whole experience?
Growing up in Nigeria, I wouldn't say it was tough, but I grew up, my parents were educators. So my dad was a principal, which was head of a secondary school. And my mom was a teacher, head of a primary school.
Okay.
So that meant I grew up studying, not much fun, which I think is a problem today.
Okay.
Because
What do you mean you think is a problem today?
Well, I still don't watch TV.
Okay.
And if I do watch TV more than 4 hours a day, I feel guilty.
Okay.
Like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
I like working. So I'm always working or reading something about my job.
Okay, that's good. Do you think there was any like negative impacts to you having both parents as educators growing up?
Yes.
What were they? Outside of like obviously the discipline,
Yeah.
like did it affect like your social life or whatever?
A little bit, because my parents only focus on education, and that's a mistake, right?
Okay.
So I love music.
Okay.
That's the only thing that would take my time away for 5-6 hours, and I'm not bored. I want to carry on it when I'm listening to music.
Yeah.
So I could play the piano, I can play the guitar,
Oh, wow.
but I'm not very good. And I wished my parents allowed us to explore other things apart from education.
Okay. Wow, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. So what school did you go to in Nigeria?
Oh, you mean university or secondary school?
Secondary. Let's start secondary.
Secondary school. So I went to a school called Lagos State Model College. So they're like grammar schools in the UK.
Yeah.
Very good at the time. Very good academically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compare it to like a UK counterpart. What was the difference and similarities?
In terms of, what do you mean?
Social life, academics, discipline.
So boarding school was quite interesting. I went to boarding school.
Okay.
So we had Saturday socials, which I never enjoyed.
How come?
I'm a very shy person.
Okay, do you think that was because your parents were...
I think I think I'm an introvert. I like to be alone. I like to be with people, but one-on-one, I'm good. In large crowd, no. I go into the background. So but we had to be a social life. There was sports, and there was studies every day. So we studied twice a day. After school, late afternoon and evening, it was studies.
So what else? What were the differences and similarities compared to UK? You're aware of like the UK schools and the UK life and how it goes and whatnot.
I mean, I think they're different. How do I put it? The context is different, right? Punishment was severe, and at the time, secondary schools, those sort of secondary schools, were in very remote areas, surrounded by forest. So I also spent a lot of my time in the forest.
Wow.
Right. Yes.
That's nice.
Climbing coconut trees,
Jesus Christ.
seeing monkeys. Yeah, that was actually good fun, actually. Because that was where we used to escape to get away from the seniors. So the junior guys would go into the forest and spend the whole day in there. We see antelope, deers. Wow. It was nice, yes.
That
was
good
fun.
Interesting. What were like your favorite subjects? Now this is for secondary school. Then after we're gonna go into university.
Definitely maths. Because I didn't like studying. So maths is like, once you understand maths, that's it, right? So I love maths. Love chemistry.
Okay.
That's it, really. Yeah, that's it.
Now, how was uni? What uni did you go?
Oh, University of Lagos.
Oh, so you stayed in Lagos?
Yes.
Okay. How was that like?
How was university? It was fun. I mean, again, I didn't like lectures. I didn't like going to school. Or I studied computer science, which I really enjoyed. And I just got it. So I thought lectures were a waste of time for me. So I didn't go to class at all. And I was working as well. So I was teaching young children in primary and secondary school. So that's what I did. Then go to lectures when I could. But university for me, no social life, no. I was not interested, no.
Was that common for a lot of like Nigerians who went to university in Nigeria? Like there was no social life.
Oh no, people were doing so. Usually, the guys in university that were big on socials didn't come to class at all. They were not very serious. So I didn't want to be in that group. So it's either you are like academic, studious,
Yeah.
or you're out there partying. And I didn't have the funds as well. They
Okay.
paid big fines. I didn't think it was good use of money, so I just didn't get involved socially. It's pretty boring, but yeah.
Do you have any like old friends from university?
Oh yeah, loads.
They still chat to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I keep in touch with people. So yeah, I've got a lot of friends. We do hang out. We do travel now every year. Yeah.
So after leaving university, what was the journey to becoming an agile coach? Did you know that that's what you wanted to do as soon as you left? Did you know what it was in uni? Did it even exist when you was in uni?
No.
Okay, so what was the journey like?
Right. So that's a big question. Let me see. So after uni, I went to serve in Nigeria, which is you go to some other states of the country and you're working there, serving the government, which was boring.
So you served the government in Nigeria?
Yeah, that's what you do in Nigeria. Once you graduate, it's called NYSC, National Youth Service Corps, where you have to serve the government for 1 year. I don't know what it's for. I think the idea was to kind of get you to see a different part of the country. So I was supposed to somewhere in the east, which that was where I was. And then I thought, you know what, I was going to leave the country and study for my master's degree. And that's how I got to the UK.
So you went to uni in the UK and done your
Yes.
masters. Where?
Yes. Southampton Solent University.
Okay. What was the degree called?
It was software engineering management.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what it was called, yes. So that's what I did. And then I started working. So I worked for a consultancy called ThoughtWorks in London. Did that, and that's where I really got into Agile. You know, loved it. Then worked as a developer.
What do you mean by that? That's how you got into Agile.
So Agile is a way, at a time, by which it's a way by which we deliver software or products, right?
Okay.
And ThoughtWorks was an Agile consultancy in London.
Okay.
One of the very first at the time.
What year was this roughly, if you remember?
2006,
Okay.
right? So I worked for them and I really enjoyed it because it was a different way of building software. And it clicked with me and I thought, you know what, I'm going to spend more time working in this industry. So that's how I got into Agile.
How important do you think it is? How important do you think it was for you to get your masters, and how important do you think it is for like younger people to continue on with education in terms of like university, further education, and then masters and so on?
Right. So I think it's changed again. When I did my master's degree, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And I think this is a flaw in the education system, at least from my experience. I didn't have a clear idea of why I was studying computer science.
Okay.
So I came to study computer science because I wanted to be a game programmer.
Oh, you wanted to be a game programmer?
That was the idea. But I took a course in game programming. I didn't like it. So I was doing everything. I mean, 2006, I was doing hardware, CCNA, I was doing systems auditing, all sorts. So to your question, how important is it to continue to uni? I'm being careful here. Because challenge is uni teaches you so many things, right? And most of it is not important for what you need to do in the real world. So there are a lot of alternative education portals like Coursera, right? Udemy, where you can learn. Once you know what you want to do, then you can go specialize and focus on that area and really get the knowledge you need and deepen your expertise in that area. So I'm not, personally, not very big on master's degree, no.
That's interesting.
Because they're so expensive and I don't think you get enough value for money.
But you don't think maybe back in the day it had more value than maybe it did now?
In some industries, like the banks would ask for BSc. I think a BSc is good because once you're not, okay, see, when you get into university, you're not sure what you want to do, right? So going to study, I think I want to study IT. Then do a course that exposes you to different things. By the time you're graduating from uni, you should know what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Then it's either you go for more studies or work experience in that area. And if a master's can deliver that to you, then fine. But I know there are a lot of people that haven't done a master's degree, done an internship, gone to work, learn on the job, and they've done really well in this industry. Yeah.
So do you think you would be in the same position if you didn't go to uni at all? That's undergraduate and postgraduate. Coming from Nigeria at that age.
No, because I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was until I started working with ThoughtWorks that I thought, I love this Agile thing. It resonates with me.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to spend more time learning and working in this space.
Okay.
But even when I graduated, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't. So for me, it was accidental. Because if I had worked maybe in networking or some hardware, maybe I would have done that as well. I don't know. But I didn't know what I was going to do.
What does an Agile coach do?
Right. So, interesting question. An Agile coach, in my definition, is a person that helps organizations improve their ways of working. And I talked about how we develop software, but for me, it's gone beyond software. There's the idea of complex work, which is the nature of business today. There's so many things that we don't know because the world is changing so quick.
Yeah.
So an Agile coach helps the organization, helps teams to adapt and change their ways of working to solve problems in the world we are today.
So what does your average week look like? On average, not your more busy week.
So usually at the moment, I'm working with teams.
Yeah.
And I work with managers. An average week would be catching up with the teams. What are the plans for this week? What are maybe following up on some challenges they had last week?
Yeah.
What they've tried, maybe suggesting some new ways they could try out for this week. Maybe getting feedback of what they've done and they failed on it, and helping them to come up with the learnings and what else can we try for this week. That's usually what I'm doing these days, about having conversations with people and helping to co-create for themselves, which is what else can we try for the problems you need to solve this week.
So is it right to assume that like an Agile coach is like a problem solver, like a technological problem solver or something like that?
So you help people solve their own problems without solving for them.
So how does that work?
So I'll give you an example. I work with a group of scientists right now.
Okay.
Right? I don't understand their domain. But what I know is that they've got a goal they want to achieve by the end of the week, or maybe in the end of 2 weeks.
What sort of goals are they? Are they like financial goals? What sort of goals are they?
Oh, so this particular one, what they're trying to do is they're trying to close down a unit in the US and build a unit in the UK. That involves laying people off, moving some people over to the UK and recruiting them up in the UK. So what we've done is break that big problem. It's quite complex. People are losing their jobs, people are upset. They've got to transfer knowledge to new people, break that down into goals that we can deliver every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So my job is to facilitate the conversation. Sometimes people are speaking, but they're not picking clues from the other person. That person is saying, no, I don't want to do that. But they can't hear that. They are just saying, this is what I want to do. So sometimes you're helping to facilitate that conversation. That this is what this person is saying. And this is what you are saying. Could there be a middle ground? How could we get this done? Okay, we cannot agree. What can we try? Let's agree. 3 options. Let's try each of these things. And what will be the outcome of trying these things to know if this approach works or not? And that's it, really. It's about listening to people, empathy, picking up on things not being said vocally.
Interesting. So your computer science knowledge doesn't really come into play?
It's a very interesting question. So, Agile started from software,
Yeah.
and the premise was building software or building product. Like the iPhone is very complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we say complex, because there are things we don't know with people, technology, or requirements. We don't know everything, and that was where it started from, the Agile Manifesto, right? And over time, people have realized that this complexity is not just about software. It's everywhere in the business. So being agile is about being responsive to changes, not having a fixed mindset. Things will change. So you have a plan to do something, but something would happen in the week that would change your plans. Let's take an example. COVID happened, right? Every single organization had to be agile
Yeah.
because and that's it really. So the learnings from building software is what we're now applying to every area of the business.
So what about agile coaching do you like, and what drew you towards it?
What drew me towards it? So I worked in software projects a lot,
Yeah.
and I found that I was that person that was always speaking for the team. I was the person always asking people, what else can we do? Okay, what can we do better? And someone said to me one day and said, Sam, you really should consider moving towards agile coaching because you enjoy doing this. I see how you come out alive when you're having these conversations. And it's a tough job because you really need to tell people what they don't want to hear without making them feel bad about themselves,
Yeah.
right? So I thought, okay, and reflect, and I thought, okay, that's actually a great career. And I really wanted to help people beyond my team. As an agile coach, sometimes the impact of my work is affecting 20,000 people, 30,000 people. And that's why I really wanted to give value to a lot of people. And that's why I got into it. And that's, again, ties into what I really enjoy. It's about helping people. So you want to make your organizations a place where people want to work at. People want to come in. I don't know if you read it about Spotify having this policy where people can work from anywhere in the world.
Okay, no, I didn't know that.
That's been agile. And what they found is that their staff turnover has dropped. People are staying in their organization, not wanting to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because that means as a young person, I could go live in Mexico and still work for the same company. I could spend 2 years traveling the world and still working. And that's about changing how we work. Because if you're an organization that is into micromanaging, that would not work. You change the way you evaluate people on outcomes, not on the tasks they do on a day-to-day basis. Because if I tell you now that, hey, listen, we've got to get this done by end of the week, why do I care about when you do it? By end of the week, you get it done. That's it. And that's the agile mindset.
No, that's interesting. To me, that sounds like an agile coach. Sounds like someone who helps a company adapt. Like I think when I hear agile coach, I hear more adapt. Do you feel me?
Yeah.
But that being said, do you like need to keep one eye on like obviously the people that you work with and one eye on like the future and what bigger businesses are doing and like kind of mimic their business model? For example, let's say you're working with a tech company, but you find another tech company that has like the same business model, but that's a lot further.
Yeah.
Are you someone to like watch that and implement those onto the people you're working with?
Yeah, so you're right, because you've got to accept that you don't know it all.
Yeah.
Right? So if Spotify is doing something, for instance, and the results are showing that this is working, then you can learn from it. But then what you cannot do is take that and apply to your organization, like copy like for like.
Yeah.
It's an idea. Then you bring it back to your organization. This is what is being done. This is the results. How can we try something similar? And then for yourselves, You try, how can we achieve the same? But you've got to remember, businesses are out there to solve problems, right? They want to increase their revenue. They want to make the world a better place. That's the goal. Spotify has tried this. What can we try along the lines and see if it serves our needs as well? So yes, you're right. You've got to keep an eye, but just information you can take in to then experiment with.
Yeah.
If it would work in your own context.
Do you ever have a situation where, like, you see there's a problem with a business, but you haven't really got the answer, and you don't really know where to find the answer, and you got to kind of like improvise and experiment something?
So being agile is all about experiments.
Okay.
And doing this work, one thing I love about it is that you don't have to be an expert at it. You don't have to have the answers.
Okay.
All you have to do is make visible and transparent to everybody. This is a challenge we have. This is where we'd like to be. What do you guys think we should do? And leverage everybody's expertise and knowledge in the room to experiment and try something else. That's it.
For someone that's an introvert, I feel like an agile coach needs good people skills.
That's why I'm a bit. You see, I said I think I'm an introvert because
Okay.
when it comes to work, I'm not an introvert.
Oh, is it?
Yes. When it comes to social, then I'm a bit shy. But when it comes to work, trust me, I just.
You think that comes from your parents being academics, so they made you very strong academically when in professional environments?
No,
You don't
I'm not
think
that?
Okay.
I think for me, when you've developed competency in an area,
Yeah.
then I'm not shy. I just speak because I believe I'm competent. I think it's lack of confidence usually that makes people shy. And I don't think maybe you feel you're not good enough or something. I don't know. That's what I feel. But when it comes to my job, what I need to do, I spend so much time studying,
Yeah.
and I have a good network of people that help me develop. So so for me, I don't feel as an introvert at work. I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
What would you say to someone who still studies, they're competent in what they do, but they're still kind of shy, like they feel like they're not good enough?
Again, people have got to give themselves credit for where they've been.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I cannot give an advice that would apply to everybody.
Yeah.
What works for me is to reflect regularly on where you're coming from and where you are now, and give yourself some credit for that. Because usually, what I've found is when people are not competent, then a bit more introverted. What would people say? One thing I love about the agile industry is we appreciate people. It's a free environment, safe environment. If people do not feel safe to make mistakes, then they don't be agile. Because experimentation is about failing. So one of the messages we give to managers is to create a space where people are themselves, bringing their authentic selves to work. So if I am working with a team and I find people that are not confident, it's my job to find ways to make them feel confident.
How would you go about that?
There's so many techniques we do. So one of the ways you do that, there's a few, when you're in a meeting, for instance, and you're brainstorming, 10 people, what you could do is break up into 5 groups, which is 2. People that are shy in a big space will talk one-on-one. Yeah. And then they can contribute ideas. Then you come back and present your ideas, key points to everybody in one group. That's one way. And people feel appreciated, feel valued. Another way is, so you can start by giving ideas anonymously. And so sometimes what I'll also do is I'll give an idea and say, guys, I have no clue about this topic, but this is what I think. So as a leader, being vulnerable as well, leading by example, so that person can see. Then I would usually also pull people aside, have one-to-ones with them, have conversations. I see you don't talk in meetings. What's going on? What can I do to support you? And if they give me an idea, I will say, you know what, in the next meeting, bring the idea up, I will support you. And just amplify their voice in that room.
Okay.
And that's it. There's so many techniques. There's no one way to do it. There's so many ways to achieve the same goals.
So, agile coach, what type of people do you work with? Do you work with people like a range of different ages, fresh out of uni, been in the industry for 10 years, or is it a certain demographic?
It's across board, from managers that have been in the industry for 30 years to new people out of uni. It's across board.
And would you treat everyone fairly the same? Or would
Absolutely.
you-
That's what you've got to do.
Okay.
You've got to do.
I'm assuming certain people you won't adapt to based on, I don't know, their background, their needs, their strengths, their weaknesses.
Well, so as an agile coach, one thing that you've got to do is to become aware of yourself.
Okay.
So you go into every conversation without judgment. So I'm not going to go into a meeting and be saying, "Oh, that guy is difficult. I know what he's going to say." I don't know what he's going to say.
Okay.
My job is to co-create an outcome that works for everybody. So as an agile coach, even as a manager, if you find yourself being judgmental, I don't want to work with that person, there's a lot more to be done on yourself. My belief is you cannot change people if you haven't changed yourself. So being more aware of yourself, and when you have fallen into those traps of being judgmental, is useful for centering yourself and bring yourself back into the conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's say a normal person, they're just about to start uni, they want to be an agile coach. Let's say they're about 17, 18. How could they go about that? Do they need to go to university? Can they get work experience?
Okay, very good question. So I got into Agile through computer science. And some of the topics we talk about is complexity.
Yeah.
But doing this work now last 5-7 years, I believe if I was to recruit people to work as an agile coach or scrum masters, I would go to the social sciences, psychology, sociology. And the reason is because those guys study people, human behavior, teamwork. Agile is very about, it's big on teamwork, right? So I think first of all, people should, if you want to be an agile coach or work in this space, I would say study courses around people, how people interact, how to form effective teams, leadership. And I think social sciences is that space. So any course in social sciences will give you a good background.
But do you think, so you think it's necessary to go to uni to be an agile coach?
I would say yes for this one. Yeah. Because when you study social sciences, then you get a good background and experience in so many things, so many areas of work, body of work that explains this phenomenon. So you understand why. So let me give you an example. When you bring a team together, the first few weeks, few months are not going to be the best for the team. Why? People that have never worked together before, right? Different backgrounds. And there's a science behind it, right? So as agile coaches, what we do, for instance, we create team agreements, which is like rules for how we want to work together as a team. And that reduces the time it takes for that team to become effective. I learned this by reading what people have read and kind of took that on. But if for someone that studies social sciences, it will be intuitive for them.
Yeah.
That, I get it. Right? So, and that has an implication for a manager, for organizations, that new teams are going to need time to bond, establish their working pattern before they become effective.
No, I hear that. Could you be like an agile coach in, like, I don't know, the sporting industry or the entertainment industry? Because I can imagine a lot of people want to get into it, but they don't necessarily want to go the tech route, or they might not necessarily think they have the maths sort of background, but they're excellent at sports. They know how to bring together our sports players. They know how to bring together musicians. So do you think there's any sort of pathway people can get into agile coaching, but for something they enjoy?
So agile coaching is very particular about teams, organization, business. Yeah. Other industries have their form of like in football, you've got like football coaches, right? And I'm pretty sure every high performing person out there would have some coaching, someone that coaches them. But that's different from agile coaching. Agile coaching is about a group of people that care about their customers and want to improve the way they work.
But you can implement that within the sporting industry, because I'm not necessarily talking about the coaches of players. I'm talking about someone who loves basketball, but they know they're not going to be a basketball player, but they still would like to work in the NBA and be
Oh,
close
I
to
see what you
basketball.
mean. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, that would work. I mean, working in the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. That's no difference.
So these companies have agile coaches within them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I think it's a very interesting point because it's also good to understand what interests you.
Yeah.
So I currently do some work for one of the energy companies in the UK. I was keen to work with them just to see what it feels like to work in that industry.
Yeah.
Right? Pay wasn't great, but I thought, you know what, it's an industry I want to work with. Walk in and get some experience.
Yeah.
And so I went in there. So yes, every industry would have some form of agility coaching or need for it. So yeah, why not?
But the job title might not necessarily
Might
be.
not be. Yeah, it might not be.
Okay. Makes sense. So what would you say is the most interesting thing about being an agile coach? Or what's the most interesting experience you've had?
For me, it's about helping people. You know, helping people to move beyond their fears. So one thing I've also learned is, so people say, so we said this, that change is hard, right?
Yeah.
That people don't want to change. Why is change hard? It's fear. Fear of what they haven't tried before. And as an agile coach, how do you help people move beyond that fear? Yeah, that for me is what I find most interesting about it. And that's for me is what's most fulfilling as well. When people say, oh, Sam, thank you very much. I didn't think we would ever get here where I'll be comfortable with this. And it takes a lot of patience. Let people do what they want to do at their own pace. You know.
What would you say was the most significant change you've done for organization?
There's so many. I'll tell you one of them. So I met this guy in a startup, right? And he had a team of about 8 developers working for him, building the software. And they've been on that project for 18 months. They couldn't move forward. They couldn't proceed. And it was interesting that he brought me in with a lot of fears. He was paranoid about a lot of things. And in 3 months, we were able to round that project up to deliver the goals he wanted, right? And interestingly, a lot of the changes had to do with him, not the team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because it was, a lot of his behaviors was in the way of work being done. Luckily for me, I was able to speak to him to realize that you were actually the problem without saying that, right, in those words.
Yeah.
And all he did was to step out and let the team do what they need to do. And that's it. 3 months we were done. And we're still friends.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So he was the manager of
Yes,
these,
he was the CEO of the company.
and he was the problem.
Yes, he was the problem. He didn't think it was a problem. He felt he was managing.
Yeah.
But his style of managing was standing in the way of work being done.
Okay. How does someone without agile coach, how can they self-reflect and see something like that?
He wouldn't be able to.
You won't be able to.
You need someone else to show it to you. And as I said, there's a lot of work that's been done. So I'll give another example to you. In the world that we are right now, with complex work, people doing knowledge work, not people that work in the factory now, knowledge work, people don't want to be micromanaged. They want to have a clear picture of what is the goals, what do you want me to do, what's the outcome you want from me, and leave me alone. Let me figure out a way to get it done. And that in itself will motivate people to work than you standing on their necks telling them what to do.
Makes sense. Would you say there's anything you don't like about being an agile coach?
There isn't anything I don't like, but I can see how someone that wants to be micromanaged could struggle. If you're someone that you require someone to break down what to do every day, you cannot be an agile coach.
So you think there's people that work that are more productive like that, being micromanaged?
Some people just like working that way. Some people just like to know everything that's going to happen. So I'll give you an example. Last week, someone that I was working with, an agile coach as well, we were planning a meeting, and then she was telling me what people will say in the meeting. This person will be this way, that person will cooperate, that person wouldn't cooperate, that person. I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. The meeting hasn't held. How do you know? Based on what happened last week? No, that's not valid. So she was trying to give me note that I'm trying to help you, but I found her very unhelpful.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go into that meeting with judgment.
Okay.
I didn't want that. I wanted to go, listen, and co-create with those guys the outcomes for that meeting. Some people like to be told steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah.
But we said work is so complex. There are a lot of things we don't know. So when you have steps written out for you, then it's not going to work. If you work in a sandwich shop, making sandwich, that's so simple. You put the bread, you put that works, right? But in the business world, it doesn't work. Creating products, it doesn't work that way. Because things will emerge that you don't know about. And you must be ready for it.
So previously you said that someone like a CEO won't be able to self-reflect and see how they're counterproductive to the employees' productivity. So does that mean an agile coach, they're always like some sort of freelancer or contractor? Like it doesn't really make sense for them to be an internal like department in a company? So
organizations are bringing agile coaches now to be part of the organization. Because we've got to get it clear. Human beings, we've all got a blind side. There are things that you do and you might not realize that you do them.
Yeah.
And that's when an agile coach comes. We say an agile coach is like a mirror. They reflect you to yourself. Right? So an agile coach can be a freelancer, can be a permanent staff, it doesn't matter. One thing that I see as an advantage when you're a freelancer, a contractor as an agile coach is you're not tied down or influenced by the politics in the organization. You can say things the way they are. You know, because sometimes in organization, like when you're still transitioning, if you say certain things, then that means your bonus is going to drop or be cut.
Yeah.
You know, but an agile coach, you've been paid maybe for the year, for the month, or whatever it is. So you just say things the way they are. There are no politics to prevent you from really being honest with what you're seeing, what you're hearing.
This is when you're external.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's the advantage of being external.
What's the disadvantage?
Disadvantage, well, you're not guaranteed a job. You know, I mean, I've been fired so many times that you say stuff you shouldn't say and then you lose your job.
You've been fired so many times?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to get into that, but continue.
Okay. So I think that's one of the disadvantages, like you can get fired. You know, you can get fired because someone doesn't like what you said or you said it the wrong way, then you lose your job. You know.
So why did you get fired?
So I was working with a team of developers.
Yeah.
And there was a developer on the team that wasn't quite buying into the agile thing.
Yeah.
Right? And with the knowledge I had at the time, I had tried. So we were in one of our meetings and he said some rude words on chat and he left. So I was frustrated, right? And I sent an email to say, you know what? I've had enough. It's either this guy get off the team or I leave. It was very quick. In 5 minutes, I left the team. That was it. I just said, okay, that's fine, Sam. I think we'll get somebody else that can manage the team. We see that you are struggling to manage the team. Right?
Okay.
And I did a lot of reflection on that. I could have handled that better.
Okay.
Again.
How did that make you feel when you left? How did that make you feel? Was you expecting them to say, all right,
I was
Sam, we'll sort
naive.
him out? Okay.
I thought they would take him off.
Okay.
But again, I wasn't Because I was angry, right?
Yeah.
So again, my blind sides. This guy had worked in that team longer than I have.
Yeah.
They would trust him more than whatever I said.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I was right. He was wrong.
Yeah.
But these human dynamics.
Okay.
The guy was a tech lead, influential in the team. So when they just said, you know what, it was easy. Just said, yeah, Sam, that's fine. And the way they said that email to me was, it seems that you're struggling to manage the team. Let's get someone that is better fit to do it.
Yeah.
You know. So it was a big lesson for me.
Has there been any like any, would you say, complications due to like race? Have you ever had any issues because of your skin color or your background, or would you say it's been fairly
There
multicultural?
might have been, to be honest, but by my nature of person I am, I don't see it. I don't catch those clues, by the way. I don't see it. I I I tend to focus on my competency, and I believe if I'm truly excellent, my skills will get me through that. So I don't catch clues. I've had people speak to me and people are like, "Can you see how he spoke to you?" I'm like, "Oh." And I get upset because of someone pointed me, but on my own I don't catch those clues. I don't. So it might have happened, but I'm not aware.
For someone, let's say someone in like the financial industry who's dealing with like racism and whatnot, but you say they're a lot younger, how would you advise them to deal with it? Would you tell them to focus on their strengths or what they can do and ignore it, or
People are different,
yeah,
right? I know there are official ways of reporting these cases to HR and all that,
yeah,
and that definitely should not be tolerated at work, 100%. But what I would say is, if the person is able to have a conversation with that person about how they feel, right? Because you see, racism is something that for me is always subtle. I don't think anyone will come out and be blunt about it. It's always subtle ways, clues that you get,
yeah,
right? So I would have a conversation. So this is how I feel about the statement you made or what you did,
yeah,
right? Make it clear to that person and give them a chance to explain themselves. If they feel uncomfortable or you can read their body language, then you can escalate to but I would use the official routes of escalating issues like that in the organization. Yeah.
What do you think is the main problem affecting young people, more specifically young black people in the UK?
I think there's a lot more distractions available now
Yeah,
than when I grew up, at least. We didn't have social media. In fact, you know what I was reminded last week? In Nigeria, there was no TV until 4 p.m. Nothing on TV. Then 4 p.m. you had these vertical lines like a rainbow color, and then TV is about to start. And then they start news at 4 p.m. So we didn't have a lot of distraction. So it was either you were playing with people out there.
in the jungle.
Yeah, you were in a boarding school like I was, or and then we lived in massive compounds, right?
Yeah,
Houses with people. So you're either playing with your friends or studying. So there was less distractions. I think now with social media and metaverse and all that, there's so much distractions. So that's for me, that's one of the major challenges I see. And how do you filter out what matters from noise? One of the biggest challenges I think young people have now. I think so.
I think social media has affected a lot of people my age and even a little bit younger and slightly older, in terms of like mental health. You feel me? I feel like a lot of people, they got anxiety, like when they get messages and all this sort of thing.
Okay. So I think there's a lot of noise on social media. And every young person needs to figure out who they are, what's their purpose. And then you've got a control on what you want to see. So I don't follow everybody, for instance. There are friends of mine that I don't follow because what they post I don't want to see. So you've got to curate what brings anxiety and the content that affects you and find ways to get it out and focus on the things that help you. But then if you don't know what you want and who you are, then you can't make that decision for yourself. That's where you start from. So I think people need to go back to the basics and say, who am I? What are my goals? Then, because we talk about choosing friends, right? The kind of friends you move around, right? But these days, there are friends you have on social media, and they have access to you even more than your physical friends.
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, they have access to you already. So by focusing on those things and eliminating the things that do not align to who you are or who you want to be would be a good step.
So finding out who you are, your goals, that sort of thing.
And that should help you drive how you curate the people that you are allowed to speak to you.
So, in terms of agile coach, what do you think the future is for like that sort of industry? Do you think there's going to be a high demand? Do you know how many agile coaches there are in the UK or in London? By any
I
chance?
don't know. I don't know. But there's a lot. There's a lot.
Okay.
But the industry is growing. After COVID, and this is why I've noticed, and that's why I slowed down a little bit. After COVID, there's been a lot of organizations wanting to help the organization adapt to Agile better. Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of organizations in the UK. I'll mention a few like BP, Jaguar Land Rover, massive engagement. I mean, BP has about over 300 Agile coaches in there. Similar number in Jaguar Land Rover. And I think COVID made organizations to realize that the ways of working needed to change. So companies are now focusing on let's help our people be able to respond easier to changes. So there's a lot of reception for agile coaching at the moment.
Okay.
And agile ways of working generally. There's a lot of demand right now.
You said there's about 300 agile coaches for Land Rover.
Yeah.
So is there like a hierarchy system? So I'm asking because say someone fresh out of uni, if they see like, Jaguar's hiring, do you think there's any chance they could be like a intern agile coach or something like that?
Yeah. Being an agile coach, okay, let me kind of address this. How do you get to be an agile coach? Yeah. There are so many ways to get there. First of all is there are a number of agile frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, there is SAFe, there is Less.
And what are they framework? What's that?
Frameworks. They are, how do I put it now? They are a collection of practices that can help improve the way organizations work, right? So for someone to be an agile coach, my advice is to work in any of those frameworks, Scrum or Kanban or SAFe or Less. Maybe get certified, right? In one of those.
This is after you get your degree in like
Yes.
Okay.
Get certified in one of those.
Yeah.
Get some work experience in using those frameworks. Yeah. Because as an agile coach, you want to bring experience of many places you've done stuff. And I'll have to correct this. Fresh out of school, you would not be able to be an agile coach.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You can be, because you need to bring that experience of what you've done over years, feel that, and now helping organizations to learn from that your experience. So I would say you need to have worked in an agile team, organization, 3 to 5 years before you start to become an agile coach.
So somewhere like Jaguar, all the agile coaches are going to be on like the same level. There's no hierarchy.
No, there's no hierarchy. No, it's all one level. You're an agile coach.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Okay. Let me reframe this. There are some agile coaches that would focus at the enterprise level.
Yeah.
So in organizations, you've got like portfolios, okay? And an enterprise, let's say Jaguar Land Rover is an enterprise.
Yeah.
And there'll be portfolios in there, right? So sometimes you have agile coaches focusing at different levels, at the enterprise level, at the portfolio level, or at the team level.
Okay.
So that's the sort of maybe hierarchy, but not hierarchy, but it depends on how much are you focusing on in the organization.
Yeah, makes sense. So the question everybody's waiting for, how much does a agile coach earn?
It depends, but I think Looking at permanent, as a permanent staff,
Yeah.
you
We'll
could
do
be.
permanent freelancer, fresh into it, 10 years experience. We'll do like those four corners.
Sorry, what's the question? Sorry?
So, okay, as a permanent staff, how
Yeah.
much would you expect to earn?
Permanent staff, let's say starting salary is about 75, 80K.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I've seen Agile coaches earn 160, 180 in banks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say it's a range from about 75K, could go around 160.
And is that the same for a freelancer?
As a freelancer, I mean, on the market today, the lowest rate you will see for an Agile coach is about 600.
£600 a day?
Per day. And it goes to about 1,200.
To £100 a day?
Yeah.
Damn. That's interesting. But, okay, so how much would you say the top Agile coaches in the country are earning?
There's no limit.
There's no limit.
To be honest, there's no limit.
It depends on the company you're working for.
Depends on the goal of the organization. So imagine, and this is this is what I think. Imagine a company, say what company? Let's say Facebook, having massive problems. It's a $1 billion company, right? And you are a very good Agile coach. You've helped Tesla or who else to turn around their company. There's no limit. In fact, I've heard someone say to me that what he does, he tells them, assuming you are making $1 million today, we're going to help you in 5 years or in 3 years. He wants a fraction of how much income he's helped them increase. Like the revenue, the increase in revenue, then he charges a fraction on that. So don't pay me, I would work for you. But once we get the revenue of the company, increased, then I want a percentage of that. And he does this for startups a lot.
Wow.
So there's no limit. It's about how good are you.
Yeah,
Develop competence and there's no limit.
that is crazy.
Well, I just wanted to ask about if you have like a business or do anything outside like your 9 to 5.
Well, so I run a business, Value Up. Yes.
Okay.
And that's where, so a lot of my work is done through that. Then I also train Scrum Masters, right? Talking about Scrum, right? One of the Agile frameworks.
okay.
So I train Scrum Masters professionally. I currently do about a class every 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you balance like work life and social life?
Well,
How do you know when to like switch off and?
Usually don't switch off, but when I'm in Nigeria, I go to Nigeria a lot, right? Every evening is socials, okay?
Okay.
In Nigeria, yes. After work, every evening I hang out with friends. And then I've got friends now that we take out time every year to go somewhere.
Okay.
We've done Kenya, we've done a lot of East African countries, but we're doing something again in February next year. So yeah.
That's enough about business. Let's talk about more personal stuff.
Okay.
Let's talk about you. So, you said you play piano and guitar.
Yeah. I can play, I can noodle on it, yeah.
So how did you get into that? And you said your parents didn't really encourage that.
No.
What was that journey like?
So in church, I used to go stand by the instrumentalists, yeah, and just watch what they're doing. Then when I go home, I go and practice. I had all these toy ones. And that was it, really. Then when I go to people's houses, you always find me by the piano or the guitar.
Okay.
Then I've gone for a few classes when I became older, but then I didn't have time anymore to devote to it, right? I've got to pay the bills, so that's why I know basics. I can sight read, I could play music by ear, but I'm just not competent. I know more than I can play physically.
That's interesting. What do you think led you towards the music?
I don't know. I just love music. That's where I get trying to forget everything else. It's music.
Do you have a piano at home?
Yes.
And do you play regularly?
Once in a while.
Okay.
Once in a
What
while.
about the guitar?
Yes, I've got one. I've got two.
You got two?
Yes.
And yeah, and you're only a little bit good. And you
Yes,
got
it's
two.
on my wall.
To be fair, I've got two guitars at home and I can't play either.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks pretty on the wall.
Yeah, it does. I like it in my room. It looks nice.
Yeah.
It looks like I actually do something with it.
And then sometimes you're on a call and then interviews in particular, right?
Yeah.
And the client sees a guitar and then they forget business and talk about the guitar. And the time is up.
Oh,
And then you get a job.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Last question: do you have any hobbies outside of like playing piano and guitar?
Ride a motorbike.
Oh, you ride a motorbike?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, a car and a motorbike, or is that just you just got one motorbike?
Motorbike is different. Nothing compares to it.
Wow. Have you ever crashed?
No.
Never.
I'm pretty safe.
Yo, it's your boy AOB. Listen, if you like this episode, I need you to like, share, and subscribe.